When the war started, I felt that I should be involved. And the one thing that interested me, of course, was flying. I got my wings eventually on the 1st of April, April Fool's Day, which I thought was very, very fitting. After I graduated from the Spitfire introduction class, I was sent to an RAF squadron, 132 Squadron, which was just then forming in Scotland. And I never got out of Scotland. I was with them for 11 months, and they never got out of Scotland. So we didn't get much activity of the type that we'd later get down south. But we were involved with intercepting anything that was coming in, approaching the British Isles that didn't have their IFF, identity friend or foe, radio operating. And I don't know, I guess I must have done, maybe 90 or something like that of these. And that was the only time I ever flew at night with Spitfires, because we were flying both day and night, intercepting these mostly phony signals that we were getting. We never did intercept a German aircraft, although one came one day and bombed our airfield in broad daylight.
And then your next operations were in West Africa?
My next operation was I was posted to the Desert Air Force. Got as far as Takoradi, which is now Ghana, was then the Gold Coast, whereas a squadron leader came aboard and he said, "Are there any Spitfire pilots in this group?" Well, there was only one other fellow and myself that had flown Spitfires, or at least admitted to have flown Spitfires. So we stepped forward and he said, "Okay, come with me, we're getting off." So we got off and he took us out to the airfield, and where another fellow met us and he said, "Welcome to the defensive Takoradi flight to which you are now attached." In other words, he'd simply cut into our posting, and as a result of that, my documents went to the Desert Air Force, and since we never got there, they must have figured we got sunk at sea or something, so they never did find my documents. My official documents in the RCAF is that I left for England on the 8th of May 1941, and I arrived in England in May of 1943. That was the date I came back from Africa. The two in between are just not existent. A lot of funny things happened at Takoradi as far as I was concerned. I'd only been there a couple of days, and I saw this hurricane. We were flying Hurricanes there, not Spitfires at all. And I saw this faded blue Hurricane sitting out in front of the shack. And I said, "What's that?" And they said, "Oh, it's a photo Hurricane. Would you like to fly it?" And I said, "Sure, I'll give it a try." So I flew the Hurricane. It still had the camera fittings in the cockpit, but it didn't have any cameras in it. And when I came back, they said, "How did you like it?" And I said, "Oh, it's okay." So, "Okay, you're now our photo pilot." So I got all the photo jobs after that. Takoradi was the place where all of the fighters and the light bombers for the Desert Air Force were brought in by ship, assembled, tested, and then flown 4,000 miles up to the desert. And for some reason or other, because I'd been a Spitfire pilot, I guess, I got the job of testing any of the Spitfires that came through Takoradi. Not all of them, but some of them. And some of them, all of the photo ones, for some reason or other, I got to test. So when the invasion of North Africa took place, I was asked to go over to the other side of the runway and test a couple of photo Spits that had just come in. I flew them, told the squadron leader they're okay, and the next day he said to me, "Take number so-and-so and fly it to And then he gave me the name of a field. Well, I didn't even know what country the field was in. I had to get a map and look it up. And it was in Sierra Leone, 900 miles away. He said, take it there today. So with a Spitfire, there was no place like, as there isn't a Hurricane, there's a little pocket behind the cockpit where you can put your razor and that sort of stuff. There wasn't that on the Spitfire. What we did, if we had to fly any distance, we'd take a panel off the wing, put our razor and our change of underwear or whatever in there, and then put the panel back on again. So I did this and took off expecting that I'd be gone for a day. And when I got to the other end in Sierra Leone, reported to the squadroneer, the squadron leader said, welcome to the Squadron 128, to which you are now attached. I'd automatically been transferred again without all my papers and everything, I don't know where they were. Anyway, at the end of that, I was there for about another couple of months because they took the whole bunch back to send back to England, but they said I'd been doing such a good job, I was to be kept there. So I was kept there for another month, which I spent test flying, and then I too managed to wiggle my way back to England. So that was pretty much my story at Takoradi. Then I came back from, it was in May, just as I'd left Nova Scotia in May. I arrived in England now in May, only 2 years later. And I went to, when I heard that some of our group were going on to Typhoons, and I didn't want to go on a Typhoon. I'd been flying Spits now for 2 years, off and on anyway. And I wanted to stay on Spitz, so I went to Air Force headquarters in London. We actually got a 10-day leave after all of this nonsense. And I went to Air Force headquarters in London and asked for a posting to a Canadian Spitfire squadron, which I got, which was 401 Squadron, which at that time was in the Midlands on rest. So I went and joined them, but we were only there about 2 weeks when we moved south and stayed in the south for the rest of my tour, and eventually in France.